The bloodline of Isolt Sayre. Before Ilvermorny ever existed, before anyone called it America's Hogwarts, there was a girl named Isolt Sayre, and her bloodline was legendary. She was born in Ireland in the early 1600s to two powerful wizarding families, whose names carried both greatness and darkness. On her mother's side, she descended directly from Salazar Slytherin through the infamous Gaunt family, the same line that would later produce Tom Riddle, Lord Voldemort. That heritage made Isolt one of the last living heirs of Slytherin's blood. Her father, William Sayre, came from a different kind of magic. The ancient Irish witch Morrigan, a fierce animagus who could transform into a crow. So, Isolt's lineage combined two extremes, Slytherin's cunning and ambition, and Morrigan's wild natural power. Her parents were kind people who used their magic to secretly heal both magical and muggle neighbors. They lived peacefully in a small valley cottage named Ilvermorny, where Isolt spent her early years exploring the woods and feeling deeply connected to every living thing around her. Her family affectionately called her Morrigan for that reason, but the Gaunts didn't approve of peace. Her mother's estranged sister, Gormlaith Gaunt, despised their compassion towards muggles and saw it as a betrayal of pure blood ideals. She believed the Slytherin line had been tainted, and she planned to correct it. That belief would soon destroy the Sayre family and ignite the story that would one day give birth to Ilvermorny itself, the kidnapping of Gormlaith. When Eold was only 5 years old, her peaceful life in the Irish Valley ended in flames. Her family cottage, the first Ilvermorny, was attacked, and her parents were killed. The culprit wasn't a stranger, it was her mother's estranged sister, Gormlaith Gaunt, a fanatical pure-blood witch and descendant of Salazar Slytherin. Gormlaith believed her sister's kindness toward muggles was shameful. To her, helping non-magical people meant polluting their sacred bloodline. So, she murdered her own family and kidnapped young Eold, raising her deep in the nearby valley under layers of protective dark magic. For more than a decade, Gormlaith controlled every aspect of the girl's life. She never allowed Eold a wand of her own, forcing her to watch as she hexed any muggle or animal that wandered too close. When Eold turned 11, an owl from Hogwarts brought her acceptance letter, but Gormlaith burned it instantly. She ranted that Hogwarts had betrayed Salazar Slytherin's vision, letting mudbloods inside its halls. Ironically, her constant rants about the school had the opposite effect. To Eold, Hogwarts began to sound like a paradise, a place where she could finally belong. As the years passed, that idea became her only light in the dark, the dream of one day escaping her aunt's madness and finding her own version of Hogwarts. The Escape and the Mayflower. After 12 years in captivity, Eold finally saw her chance. She stole her aunt's wand, a powerful yew wand containing a fragment of horned serpent horn, and ran. She fled Ireland under cover of night, crossing to England, but Gormlaith's tracking spells were relentless. Desperate to vanish completely, Eold cut her hair short, dressed as a boy, and took a new name, Elias Story. Under that identity, she boarded a ship called the Mayflower in 1620, alongside the earliest Muggle settlers bound for the New World. None of them knew a witch was among them. When the ship reached Massachusetts, Eold disappeared into the darkness, letting the passengers believe Elias had perished in the brutal winter. To them, she was just another lost colonist. But to Eold, this was rebirth, a final escape from Europe's blood-obsessed wizarding world. In the wild mountains of North America, she was utterly alone, surrounded by untamed magic and creatures no witch from Europe had ever encountered. For the first time, she was free, but freedom came with silence, danger, and isolation. Yet, in the vast enchanted land, Eold was about to find something extraordinary. The first friends and the first signs of the magic that would one day build Ilvermorny, the forest and the Pukwudgie. Deep in the wilds of Massachusetts, Isolt Sayre wasn't alone for long. One afternoon, she stumbled upon two magical creatures locked in a deadly fight. A hide-behind, a shape-shifting predator known for stalking humans, and a Pukwudgie, a small gray-skinned being armed with poisoned arrows. When the hide-behind lunged, Isolt cast a curse that drove it away and saved the Pukwudgie's life. The creature was furious. Pukwudgies prided themselves on independence and despised being indebted to humans. Still, by his own ancient code, he swore to serve her until the debt was repaid. He complained endlessly, but followed her everywhere. Amused by his stubbornness, Isolt named him William, after her late father. Over time, the two forged an unlikely friendship. William introduced her to the magical life of North America, creatures no European witch had ever seen. Frog-headed hodugs, dragon-like snallygasters, and prowling Wampus kittens. Most mysterious of all was the horned serpent, a massive river creature with a jewel embedded in its forehead. It frightened William, but not Isolt. She claimed she could hear it speak in Parseltongue, a gift inherited from Salazar Slytherin himself. Each time she visited the serpent, it whispered the same words. "Until I am part of your family is doomed." At the time, Isolt didn't understand the prophecy, but those words would soon decide her destiny. The Boot brothers and James Steward. Not long after, Isolt and William heard screams in the forest. When they followed the sound, they found a massacre. A man and woman dead, their 2 sons barely alive. The killer was another hide-behind. Together, Isolt and William destroyed it, but the Pukwudgie refused to help the wounded boys, insisting they were as good as dead. Furious, Isolt ordered him to carry one as payment for the life she had saved. She brought the children home and nursed them for weeks until they recovered. Their names were Chadwick and Webster Boot, the orphan sons of English settlers. To her relief, both showed clear signs of magic. They became her first students and eventually her sons. When she returned to the clearing to bury their parents, she met James Steward, a kind No-Maj from the nearby Plymouth colony who had gone searching for the missing family. He accidentally picked up one of the Boot parents' broken wands, and it blasted him backwards. Isolt rushed to help him, and in that moment, something changed. After years of fear and hiding, she finally trusted someone outside the wizarding world. James fell in love with her kindness and courage. Together, they would build a new home in the mountains, one that would become the heart of magic in North America, Ilvermorny, the birth of Ilvermorny. In the quiet mountains of Massachusetts, Isolt and James Steward built a small stone house together. It began as a refuge, a safe place for Isolt, James, and the Boot brothers. But soon it became something far greater. As the boys grew, their thirst for knowledge reminded Isolt of the school she had never been allowed to attend. So, around the family table, she began to teach them magic, lessons in charms, potions, and defense against the dark arts. Chadwick was brave and curious, always pushing limits. Webster was thoughtful, cautious, and deeply loyal. From these lessons, the idea of a school took root. They called it Ilvermorny, after the cottage in Ireland where Isolt had once lived with her parents, a way to honor what was lost and rebuild it anew. The first wands ever made in America were crafted there, using wood from local trees and cores from the horned serpent that Isolt had befriended. When the serpent offered one of its own scales, Isolt finally understood its prophecy. It had become part of her family. Soon, other magical children appeared, orphaned or abandoned, drawn by rumor of a kind witch who taught anyone willing to learn. Even the Pukwudgie William returned, bringing his kin to guard the home. What started as a cabin became a castle, enchanted stone by stone. And with it, a new philosophy was born, a school where magic was shared freely, not hoarded by blood. The return of Gormlaith Gaunt. For years, Ilvermorny thrived in peace. Darkness was never far behind. Back in Ireland, Gormlaith Gaunt had discovered her niece's survival. Through her dark connections, she learned that Ilvermorny was flourishing, a school that dared to mix wizard and No-Maj blood. To Gormlaith, it was a disgrace to Slytherin's name. When she finally crossed the ocean, she found Isolt's home hidden deep in Mount Greylock. One stormy night, she attacked, her yew wand blazing with green light, curses ripping through the air. Inside, the Steward family awoke to chaos. Isolt's wand, containing the horned serpent scale, pulsed with strange energy. When Gormlaith tried to curse the children, the wand refused to obey her. It turned on its former master, shattering her magic in an instant. The serpent's bond had chosen its true family, Isolt's. William and his Pukwudgies rushed to defend the school, unleashing a volley of deathly arrows that ended Gormlaith's reign of terror. It was poetic justice, a pure-blood zealot destroyed by the very creatures she despised. When the sun rose, Ilvermorny stood untouched. For Eold, the battle was more than survival. It was the death of an ancient curse. From that day on, Ilvermorny would never hide again. It became a sanctuary where every magical soul, no matter their origin, could finally belong. The four houses and their symbolism. When Ilvermorny finally took form as a true school, it needed something more than walls and wands. It needed a heart. Inspired by Hogwarts, Isolt and her family created 4 houses, each named after a magical creature representing a different part of the wizard's self. Horned Serpent was chosen by Isolt herself. It honored the great river creature that once spoke to her and symbolized the mind, wisdom, and the pursuit of knowledge. Those sorted into Horned Serpent were often scholars, thinkers, and seers, the intellectuals of Ilvermorny. Wampus selected elected by Webster Boot, embodied the body, strength, courage, and action. Its members were fierce, loyal, and known for their instinct to protect others. Thunderbird, named by Chadwick Boot, represented the soul, adventure, exploration, and freedom. Its beating wings echoed the call of every witch or wizard who sought to discover the unknown. And Pukwudgie, chosen by James Steward, represented the heart, healing, empathy, and loyalty. It was a tribute to William and his kin, who continued to guard the school for generations. Unlike Hogwarts, where a hat made the decision, Ilvermorny's students stepped onto a platform as the carvings of each creature came to life. If more than one called to them, they would choose their own path. It was a school built on unity, where every part of a person's spirit had a place, the legacy, and what happened after. Years passed, and Ilvermorny grew from a family home into a towering castle of granite and enchantment atop Mount Greylock. Word spread quickly across the colonies, a place where any magical child, pureblood, half-blood, or No-Maj born could learn without fear. Generations of witches and wizards came to study there, shaping the foundation of North American wizardry. Even after Eold and James passed away, their descendants carried on the tradition. The Sayre Steward line remained proud of its mixed heritage, living proof that unity, not purity, created strength. The Pukwudgies continued to guard the school, honoring their promise to William and Isolt. And though few students knew its full history, Ilvermorny's halls still echoed with the spirit of its founders, the witch who fled darkness, the No-Maj who loved her, and the creatures who taught them that family could be chosen. But this was only the beginning. The next lesson at Stickman Hogwarts? All 11 wizarding schools explained. And trust me, Hogwarts isn't the best one. Snape's waiting. Click now before he locks the door.